our greatest ally attacked a US ship and got away with it. Let's talk the USS Liberty. On June 8th, 1967, the USS Liberty, flying the American flag loud and proud, sits in international waters monitoring the Six-Day War. Israeli jets do a flyby. They see it's American. Then they attack anyways. Airstrikes shred the ship. Napalm rains down, killing 34 Americans and wounding 172. The Liberty gets a distress call out even though the communications were destroyed. They do it manually. America launches Phantoms to rescue our men. Not join the fight, just save them. But when they are minutes away, Defense Secretary Robert McNamara, with LBJ's authority, recalls them. Then the Israelis unleash hell. Unmarked jets with no national identification, which is a violation of international law. They launch torpedo boats, which fire 6 torpedoes at the USS Liberty. One slams home, killing 25 US men and wounding many more. Do you want to know what's worse than that? The men aboard the USS Liberty then get onto 3 lifeboats. The Israelis then go on to target the 3 lifeboats that were deployed, along with also sweeping the deck, to kill as many men as they could and prevent evacuation, which is a straight Geneva Convention violation. And then get this, what about the survivors? They were gagged, ordered no interviews, even with each other, or they would face court-martial, prison, a variety of different consequences. There still to this day has been no real justice, and it is still called mistaken identity. I call bullshit. 34 dead Americans. Cover-ups from the top. Why? Drop your thoughts down below. The truth needs to come out.
Watching the world burn, watching the world burn. June 10th, 2026. Let's get into it. Looks like, I think it's 224 is going to pass, and that'll integrate the Israeli and U.S. militaries. So, you know, United States, we're just puppy dogs to Israel, to be dog walked around by a tiny little nation, probably the size of Rhode Island. Imagine Rhode Island ruling the United States. Doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, let's watch a video. This guy, I'll put it in a video. Can't remember. Well, I think he's got his name on there. He expresses my sentiment much better than I could. Let's watch that.
Iran is the lion standing in the face of Israel and refusing to back down. And they're not just standing for themselves. As I have said, they are standing for the entire Middle East and with it, the entire world. They know what this is. It's a land grab. It's a genocide. It's the attempted birthing of Greater Israel. It's the attempted construction of the Third Temple. It's the attempted ushering in of the Antichrist. That's where all of this is headed. That's what all of this is for on its face. And as for our country, the occupied United States of America, which is fully captured, the Iranians are standing in the gap, fighting for the entire world against the Epstein class. And Hezbollah is standing right next to them. Another group of lions blasting Benjamin Netanyahu's genocidal Talmudic empire to smithereens. Look at this. Those are Iranian missiles. Missiles fired from Lebanon by Hezbollah lighting up the Israeli sky. Or really, it's a Palestinian sky occupied by people who call themselves Jews. But either way, those missiles were lighting up the sky above the heads of war criminals, above the heads of genocidal psychopaths and pedophiles who for far too long have had no fear of repercussion. They have always boasted rather smugly that no one can touch them, not just because the captured United States president will go to war whenever they say to, but because the U.S.-funded Iron Dome is supposed to shoot down every missile in sight, only that Iron Dome wasn't designed to fend off Iran. It was designed to fend off teenage boys and malnourished young men causing trouble with mortar kits left behind by the IDF after they burnt their village and shelled the next town over. But now they're the ones getting shelled. And the Iron Dome, the fake Iron Dome, can't keep up.
Alrighty. So, getting back to the Middle East, I was scrolling through the news. By the way, it seems like X chews up a lot of data. I may have to change my cell phone plan eventually because, my bills are getting high just scrolling through the news while I do these hikes. And that's the only data that I use, I don't listen to music or watch movies while I'm hiking or anything like that. I just look at X to see if I can report on something. But the reports are the war, well, the war was back on the menu, boys, yesterday. So I don't know what the hell, Trump's gone batshit crazy. I mean, the man has lost his mind. And I encourage you to watch the latest episode. I was watching it before it came out, but I had to cut it off. Episode of Daniel Davis Deep Dive. He had an oil expert on there who was explaining why the oil prices are so low right now and where they're going to go. And it was a lot of factors, but the one that sticks out in my mind, he was talking about there used to be 50 tankers a day that went through the Straits of Hormuz. And he said now that number has trickled down to about 2 to 20. Now, if you've been watching the news, Trump said we had a secret gateway through the Hormuz that the Iranians didn't know about. And we've been smuggling all the oil out right underneath their nose. And then Iran came out immediately and said, that's a damn lie. We don't know what the United States is talking about. Anyway, and then of course, you got the story about the helicopter. I'll let you fish around. Larry Johnson did a breakdown analysis on why that whole story can't be true. But he did give one explanation that made the most sense to me. And that is that, okay, suppose the Apache helicopter tried to take the drone down and shot at it. And the drone exploded and the shrapnel blew back on the Apache helicopter and embedded itself into the frame, because those things aren't well armored. In fact, they really have hardly any armor, which is a possibility. And in that scenario, the rotors could still be working and you would have to ditch it into the water, as quick as possible. And from what I understand, when those rotors hit the water, they're made to snap off when they hit a hard object. So it's very feasible that something like that could have happened. That's just, but I'll let him, he'll explain why they couldn't have been hit by the drone and everything else. That drone carries a huge explosive device, and if it hit that chopper, there's no way anybody would have survived. It would have been disintegrated. Enough on the chopper. Sorry to see us back at war, but so the oil situation, like I said, it was 50. Now we're down to about 2, maybe at the peak 20 going through, because the Iranians are letting them through. So that's a huge drop in worldwide oil supply. And evidently, China has cut back on their oil imports. So that's helping keep the price down a little bit. And the whole world, everybody, they're using up their commercial. If you didn't know, if you've ever driven down the highway, I mean, like I can remember 29 in Virginia, you'll see these huge tanks, in certain places. Well, those were full of oil, and we're draining those tanks along with the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. And but eventually, even those tanks. So you got your commercial oil supply, and you've got your strategic petroleum reserve. I don't know why I want to call it the oil, and that's being drained. And he's saying that, well, he said maybe as late as August, because we might make it through July, but that's when everything's going to run out, and we should see really high oil prices. In fact, over in Asia, it was reported that it's $150 to $200 a barrel, whereas here, I think last I saw, it was like 89 or in the 90s, somewhere around in there. That's where the oil prices are hovering. And also, if you watch that episode, it's just go to Daniel Davis Deep Dive, and and look at it. I think it's probably the last, well, he might do another episode since the war. We're bombing Iran again. Talk a bit about that. But this guy was really, really smart. Really broke everything down. Talked about oil futures and how they work. You know, I learn something every day watching these channels. So then we got to get to, we're going to do a sit down here in a minute. I have a Lego video. I didn't like it very much, but it's okay. The problem is the graphics just repeat over and over and over again. And it was just a long 8-minute video. I'll put it at the end because I don't want to torture you during the video. We don't have any little short 4-minute entertainment. Before we get to Ukraine, let's talk about, since we're on Israel and the Iran war and everything that's happening in the Middle East, let's get the Thomas Massie video out of the way. If you didn't know, he read the report on what happened to the USS Liberty. I want to say 56 years ago, it was back in the 60s. Israel opened up, I can't remember the exact number. I think, when you listen to Thomas Massie, he'll give you all the numbers. They killed like 35 sailors, and somehow the only reason that any of them survived because they were trying to sink the ship, which you would think would be an act of war against the United States, but no, it got buried. Lyndon B. Johnson. There was actually planes on the way to rescue the ship, and Lyndon B. Johnson turned them around, told them he didn't want them confronting the Israelis, you know, because we got to protect the Israelis, right? They own the United States, even back in the 60s. But anyway, let's watch Thomas Massie now. We'll get that out of the way.
Recognize the gentleman from Kentucky, Mr. Massie, for 5 minutes.
I request unanimous consent to revise and extend my marks and to introduce other material into the record.
Without objection.
Mr. Speaker, it's my great honor, maybe one of the biggest honors of my lifetime, to stand here on the floor and do something that's 59 years overdue, to recognize the survivors and those who gave their lives on the USS Liberty 59 years ago today, when they were viciously attacked by IDF jets and also after that by torpedo boats. I'm going to tell you a little bit of their story. And there, by the way, there's at least a dozen of them here today with us. I just met with them in my office, and they related this story to me. You know, it was a clear day. The USS Liberty was one of the most technologically sophisticated ships in the Navy, but it was virtually unarmed, and it was sent to observe the 6-day war going on in the Middle East between Israel and its neighbors. It arrived on June 7th, and the weather was clear. The planes came out to meet them, to investigate, and then on the next day, on June 8th, they started the day. The visibility was unlimited. The American flag was flying proudly on the USS Liberty. More planes came from Israel to surveil the boat, the ship. And they thought they were in good shape, but what happened next surprised them all. French Mirage jets showed up and for 25 minutes strafed and attacked the USS Liberty. They shot rockets. They shot 30-millimeter cannons into the hull and into the ship. They even dropped napalm on the bridge of the ship. This was an effort to kill everybody on board. There was no intention of taking prisoners. After the 25 grueling minutes of attack on this virtually unarmed ship, and they thought things were over and they could recover, the torpedo boats showed up, 3 torpedo boats. They launched 4 torpedoes. One of them hit the hull of the USS Liberty and killed 25 people instantly. It blew a 40-foot by 40-foot hole in the side of this ship. They were intent on sinking it. But they were also intent on not having a single survivor. According to eyewitness accounts, the Israelis machine gunned the lifeboats that they put down. They machine gunned the firefighters who were on the deck. They were bringing the wounded and the dead to the mess hall to triage them. They had one doctor who was trying to help them all, put a few stitches in. It was harrowing, and it's amazing If not for that crew, that boat would have sunk that day. But it still wasn't over. Helicopters showed up, combat helicopters. And the USS Liberty, even though their signals were being jammed by the Israelis, got a signal out. And there were ships that tried to respond. The USS Saratoga, the USS America sent planes, both of them sent planes to help the USS Liberty. And something happened that's never happened before. A ship under attack, the planes were recalled. This has never happened before. And they sat there for 17 hours. 34 dead, 174 wounded, out of 294 crew members. That's over 70% casualty rate, unheard of. The Israelis were intent on leaving no survivor. And what about our own military? Why did they not send anybody for 17 hours to help these men? So what really happened? You know, the official reports say that it was a case of mistaken identity. But if you listen to Dean Rusk, former Secretary of State, Richard Helms, CIA Director, Bobby Ray Inman, head of the NSA, Captain Ward Boston, who was the chief counsel of the Court of Inquiry, if you listen to Admiral Moore, who served in Pearl Harbor, Midway, commanded both the Atlantic and Pacific Fleet, and was chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, none of these distinguished men think this was an accident. They think it was intentional murder by the country of Israel, either as a false flag operation or because they simply didn't want anybody observing what they were doing that day. Well, I've got a call to action for everybody here. Honor these individuals. Quit ignoring that they exist. Go to their website, ussliberty.org. Support them. And while they're still alive, they need closure. Let's give them closure. Let's have an investigation. Let's pass a resolution honoring them. It's long overdue. And then they can have their justice. With that, I yield back. And I ask unanimous consent to enter into the record a declaration of Ward Boston declaring that the only official court of inquiry was invalid.
Without objection, so ordered.
I yield back.
The gentleman yields back. The chair now recognizes
Wasn't that fantastic? And from what I understand, there are still some survivors from the Liberty, and I think they might have been there with him, or he met with them afterwards. So, and they're all telling their story now. In the past, if any of them told the story of what really happened that day, they had to sign an agreement that they would go to jail. So none of them wanted to go to jail, so they kept their mouths shut until now, which is amazing. So anyway, yeah, Israel's our friend, that's for sure. The genocide in Gaza continues. They're killing about, well, I've heard as many as 10 to 50 people a day. They're working their way through the Palestinian population. So it looks like, I don't know what's going to happen with Lebanon. I mean, if you didn't know, Iran struck Israel because Israel struck Lebanon. Now, in my previous video, I gave you a number it was of people that I thought had died in those apartment buildings, and it was nowhere near that number. I don't know the exact number, but it was a fairly small amount. Maybe 10, 20 people died when Israel attacked Beirut. So I just wanted to, I always correct myself so that you know that I don't want you to ever think that I don't tell you the truth. We got well, that's 3 videos out of the way. I wanted to talk briefly about the video studio. I know you're sick of hearing about that, but I am that cybersecurity guy on YouTube, so you got to put some computer stuff in there, whether we're talking about AI. Speaking of AI, Grok is getting smarter and smarter, because I work with Grok almost on a daily basis now on my video studio project. And that's been the problem the last couple of weeks. In fact, yesterday I worked almost 20 straight hours. I was like a dog chewing on a bone, man. I couldn't let it go. But I was running all of my, because I'm redoing the server again. You're saying, well, how many times are you going to rebuild your video studio server? When I say rebuild, I mean reload the operating system and redo all of your configuration and your apps and, your mounting of the disks and, all of that stuff. And, but anyway, the reason I do it is because things keep changing. Like I said, DaVinci Resolve came out with the 21.0 release, which was a huge release. Then, of course, like I said, we've had Handbrake. And it turns out, by the way, it's a good thing I did redo it, because when I got on the server, my DaVinci Resolve on that server, because I just haven't been using it, I've been using the laptop, my Creator, MSI Creator laptop to do everything. It was way out of date. Luckily, I never registered the license, so I didn't have to worry about doing that. But just to tell you how much work that server needed, I had to flash the BIOS, because there was a new BIOS that came out. And I was determined last night. I said, damn it, I'm going to get something done in the video studio. So I flashed the BIOS, and of course, what happens when you flash the BIOS is all the changes that you've made to the previous BIOS, you lose them all. So then you got to go back, and boy, luckily I got pretty good notes. So probably need to update them for the BIOS now, like I'm doing with everything else. And then you have to go in and tweak all those settings. And if you're like, when you're dealing with a really sophisticated server, it takes a while to work your way through that BIOS, at least a couple of hours to change all the settings back or close to what they were before. So you have to do that first. Then you can boot into, Ventoy to install the operating system. And then I finally got the operating system. And by the way, I will tell you another good thing that I did this rebuild. NVIDIA had come out with a new driver for Linux Mint. So, it's always good to just install the latest driver rather than sit there and upgrade, because there's always trash left behind on anything when you upgrade. So that's good. I got a fresh, probably a very recent NVIDIA driver for the computer, so that was good. And then, of course, I applied the updates, and by that time it was about 7 in the morning. I've been up all night long. Anyway, but getting back to Grok, I'm just running those directions through and cleaning up. I got, a lot of times I had a lot of redundancy in my directions, because I would ask Grok and he would give me these directions, and then he'd give me those directions, and I'd say at some point I got to combine all this, and so we worked it all out. It's a really clean installation. It shouldn't take me more than a day or two longer to have everything working in the video studio. Well, maybe a week, because I still got to do all of the get the monitors set up and all of that stuff. It's a big project, but once it's going to be done this time, I won't be upgrading for a year. The next release of Linux doesn't come out till probably December. But I highly encourage you to get away from Windows and take a look at Linux. Whether it's Linux Mint, Ubuntu, those are probably my two favorite. DaVinci Resolve supports Rocky Linux. I don't know why they picked Rocky Linux. That doesn't make some sense to me. I looked at it. I would never use it. And there's all kinds of other flavors of Linux. I used to love Fedora. But, all right, so we'll get to the sit-down portion of the video. It's going to get dark on me for sure. Like I said, I was up till about 7 or 8 in the morning. So I got a really late start on the hike here today. And I'll keep you updated on the war. I'm going to check the news right now, see where we're at. Oh, speaking of, we forgot to talk about Ukraine, but one last thing about the what's taking place. Heck's death, he's cheering it on. But Iran said this time, because the last time Iran wanted to see what damage we did before they launched, and to give an equal response. They said that's not going to happen this time. We'll see. Maybe we'll know by the time I get to my picnic table that they said, nope, if we hit them again, which we have right now, They said they're launching immediately with a big strike. They're not going to wait around to see what damage we do. The other thing that was really evil, and we hit their water supply. So, hey, you got an armadillo. Maybe if we get close enough, we'll get him on the video. Saw a deer a while back, too. Boy, I tell you, we're getting the nature today. Oh, on a side note, we're getting close to him. Hopefully we'll get him. On a side note, coming out, you know, like I said, I never see anybody back here in these woods. Never. Well, there was a car in the parking lot, and the odds of running into somebody, because there's trails that go all over in here. There was a guy coming towards me. I swear he looked just like Popeye. And he was, you know, so I said, since you don't see anybody back here, let's get him on the video. Hold on. Can you see him? Right there. Let's get up close to him. All right. Come on, little fella. Don't run away on me. There he goes. All right, that's enough of that. Okay. Where was that? Hag's death. Oh, yeah, so Iran's going to launch immediately. We'll get to Ukraine for just 1 second. I don't have much to tell you there. It's just marching along. Same old, same old. That city that I told you about in the last video, Kramatorsk, I think it is, that's completely fallen now. It'll be reported perhaps by about Saturday, I would imagine. The Russian Ministry of Defense, they haven't reported it officially yet, but I'm sure they will here very shortly. And then, of course, you know, all along the front, the Russians are advancing. Now, everybody's saying they're going to have to take Kiev and go down, swoop down, and take Odessa. So that war is, I don't know. I said 2 years ago it'd be over in a month. So who knows how long it's going to take them to do that. I don't know how much meat Ukraine has left to throw into the grinder. I know that's a crude way to put it, but that's basically the way it is. You know. Oh my God! Thank God we don't live in Ukraine, but man, if we get into a real serious conflict, which it looks like we might, well, that's another thing that's got me worried. What do we got left to defend the United States with, huh? I mean, man, we're expending munitions. Look we gave everything we had to Ukraine. Then we turned around and we gave everything we had to Israel to exterminate the Palestinians. Then we turned around and bombed for 30 days with the war with Iran, you know, burning through our missile supply. I mean, you know, everybody on YouTube keeps saying that we only have a couple weeks of inventory left. I don't know, but it seems like every time we go back to war, we seem to find weapons somewhere. Oh, that was another stupid thing. I hope you don't listen to Fox News, man. Coming out here, they were reporting that B-52s are flying over Iran, bombing it. That's a damn lie. B-52s can't get into Iranian airspace. They get shot down. B-52 is slow, it's lumbering, it's an easy target to hit, and Iran's got air defenses, especially, you know, during the ceasefire. I'm sure that China and Russia probably beefed up their air defenses. So there's no way you're going to fly a B-52 over top. Now, B-52 you can launch cruise missiles from, so that's a possibility, but that's a standoff weapon, not flying over Iran like Fox News was reporting. Oh, man. All right, let's just wait till we get to the picnic table. By the way, I didn't take the shortcut today because I wanted a longer hike. I'm actually feeling, amazingly, after being up all night, pretty good today. All right, we'll get to the next portion of the video. Just 1 second. All right, I forgot to finish my story about that Popeye dude. So I looked at him and said, "Hey, how's it going? I don't see people out here very often." And he wouldn't even look at me. Just kind of kept walking. Now, he did have some earphones in, but when I got right next to him, I was kind of waving to him, you know, saying, "Hey, man, how's it going?" And he just kind of grunted and just kept on going. You meet some weird people. By the way, we're taking a different trail. That's why I wanted to get the trail on the video here. This leads, if I'm not mistaken, to a different picnic table, which is down by the water. Might be buggy today. I don't know. And we'll get the river on the video. And so it'll be a different hike. But But yeah, I'm pretty sure that this just goes right down to the river. So this will be cool. We'll get a good nature shot for you before we continue with the news, and hopefully that'll brighten your day. I know it's going to brighten mine. We hike along to get to the picnic table. Believe me, this is a long hike. It's not easy. Well, I wanted to point out, I forgot it in the last clip, look how well maintained these trails are. I mean, this is since I made my last video. They came out here. They did a lot of work in a short period of time. I mean, you don't have to worry about ticks when the grass is down this low. You know, and at this time of the year, well, we've been so dry, it hasn't been growing. But usually, you know, they can't keep up with it. But Marion County is doing a great job. Anyway, latest news report. So clashes are going on in the Strait of Hormuz. The latest report is the United States has hit seven targets so far. There was an F-16 that was intruding. This is what I was telling you about the air defenses, man. You know, there was an F-16 that came in, and Iran reports that they chased it away. Oh, man. I don't remember. I don't know if I've ever been that way. I think I'm going to go left here to try to get to that picnic table. I don't know. I don't know where that goes. Damn, I'm going to have to come back and do this trail again. All right, well, we'll try this because you can see it's bending this way. So hopefully this is the route to the picnic table. All right, but I guess we'll find out. So that's the latest on the war, the ongoing war. So like I said, this is going to be crazy because I don't know. Oh, also reports are that and this is insane too, that the Persian Gulf countries are aiding the American forces in attacking Iran. And that if that's true, they're on the menu, man. And you know, if those desalination plants are hit in Saudi Arabia and Bahrain and the UAE, you can't live in the Middle East in this heat without water. So this thing could get insane. And then no oil's coming out of the Middle East, no matter how many tankers you have. I think I still own a tanker stock. Maybe when I get home, I'm gonna have to sell that. That might be my first order of business when I get home. All right, I'm hoping we're on the right trail. I do want to sit down and have some. I got water in my backpack, but I guess we'll find out. Damn, I might be lost. I don't remember that trail at all. You can see this one just keeps going. I may just have to turn around. Maybe we'll do the rest of the video when I get home. All kinds of reports coming out of the Middle East, and you know, well, what I can do is maybe just tell you about them, and then you know, if when I get home, anything that's been corrected, just wanted to show you the trail that just keeps winding and winding. It's a nice trail, but I'm getting really tired. And I got a long hike back. I want to keep going in the hopes that we're going to get to that stupid picnic table. But anyway, the unconfirmed reports that a U.S. warship has been struck by a hypersonic missile. They said that the Iranian airport has been struck. Oh, dang it, I don't know why that happens. It's in my pocket and somehow it just bounces around and cuts the phone back on. Iranian airport has been struck. There was another big report. I hope this one ain't true. They said that we struck Iran's largest gas facility. Yeah, I think we're here. Because I remember this is a little circle. Goes around to the picnic table, I think. All right. Okay, we'll get the river on the video. I cut the thing on at just the right time here. Anyway, if we struck that gas facility, that means that Iran's going to light up the whole Middle East, and there won't be no oil coming out of the Middle East for the next 14 years. So we'll see what happens. I'm hoping that I'm recognizing this. All right. I'll tell you when we get to the river, I'll cut the thing back on. We're going to have a lot of clips to tie together, unfortunately. Oh, here's the river. Look at the little tadpoles down there. I don't know if you can see them in the video. Now, boy, I tell you, the floor's coming fast and furious. Let's try to get as much of the river as we can on the video. That 2 tankers that were trying to cross the Hormuz Strait illegally have been struck. Like I said, all this shit's unconfirmed. Who knows? All I know is things are getting wild. And I haven't seen the picnic table, but I did want to just get the river here on the video for you. Boy, doesn't that make you just want to get in a canoe and just kind of flow with that river on down, just floating. Maybe somewhere down the way, somebody pick you up. And that, by the way, that's another trail over here. That's actually Sunny Hill. I can't remember. The Blue House. I can't remember what they call that. Sunny Hill East, maybe. And there's trails that go all through there. I've hiked most all of those, and I've ridden my mountain bike down that trail right there. Let's get back. I'll show you what things look like. No picnic table so far. Let's keep going. This is one flimsy picnic table. Hope it doesn't break on me. Look at this bench. I wouldn't want to even sit on that. Oh, okay. Obviously, we found the picnic table. We got a couple videos here from Chris Martinson on the oil crisis that's coming. I'll try to work them into the video.
American crude and fuel exports in May were more than 2 million barrels a day higher than the average for all of last year. You can see here, wow, that's 4 million barrels to 6 million barrels exported. Look at this. The United States is, where's it getting those 2 million barrels? Where's that coming from? Where did the United States get all that oil? 2 million barrels a day. So, as we've established previously many times here on this channel, the U.S. is still a net oil importer, not an exporter, to the tune of about 2.3 million barrels a day, which means that for the U.S. to actually be exporting another 2 million barrels a day, well, the United States must be eating into reserves and stockpiles, which indeed it is. Here we can see that U.S. oil and petroleum product inventories, those are our stockpiles, hit a 22-year low in the most recent reading, where we used to have as much as, say, little over 2 billion barrels of oil in stockpiles kicking around. Now we're down to 1.6. It's a big drop and dropping further. And by the way, comparing this to 2003, the United States was a much smaller country in 2003, much smaller. So this is trying to sustain our economy on far smaller actual inventories. Carrying on the Bloomberg article, one last quote here. They said, now, however, the limits of some of the workarounds are coming into focus. Overall oil inventories in the U.S. shrank to the lowest level in more than 2 decades last week. Emergency reserves have little oil to spare, and fuel stockpiles are facing critical lows as peak summer demand months approach. We are not capable of sustaining these exports, said PIMCO's Share Now, adding that inventories at the critical storage hub in Cushing, Oklahoma are approaching operational lows. More than that, there's only about 1 million barrels left at Cushing, Oklahoma before it reaches what are considered to be the operational threshold. There's so much more to unpack here. Head on over to peakprosperity.com for the full story, premium insights, and an incredible community discussion. See you there. You hear stuff like this, typical pre-market Monday morning words, right? They're meant to soothe the markets. And of course, somehow the markets always seem to do what these tweets suggest they should be doing. Now, oil, for its part, nudged up a couple of bucks upon hearing the news of the war resuming. Here's the missiles were launched here. Look at that big spike right there. It went from about $90 to about $94. Then another spike with more missiles being launched, coasted all night long, and then, it's over again. And mostly it gave up all those overnight gains upon the soothing words. But so what gives? What gives? In times past, events far smaller than the ones we just described here would have sent oil soaring into the stratosphere. I mean, things are so weird right now that according to this Goldman Sachs survey of oil traders are now more bearish on the price of oil than at any time over the past 10 years. Here's how many respondents, 839 respondents. Here's how many claim that they were bearish versus slightly bearish in the darker blue, but overall, like bearish is that light blue there. And you can see they've never been more bearish, slightly or overall. And then on the other side, you have bullish, slightly bullish in pink to bullish in green. Absolute collapse in bullishness since the war started. This is 2026 down in this end. How do you get a collapse in oil bullishness given that what we're seeing is this? These are crazy supply collapses. These are absolutely stunning, what we're seeing here. How do you get here? I mean, note that the scales are a little bit different here. So if you're like, well, you know, it's tale of two worlds. Venezuela's up, but OPEC is down. The scales are different. This collapses from about 30 down to about, let's call it 17. So that's a 13 million barrel per day collapse in OPEC, whereas Venezuela is up from 0.8 to 1.2, so that's 0.4. So comparing 0.4 to 13, not really much of a comparison. There's so much more to unpack here. Head on over to peakprosperity.com for the full story, premium insights, and an incredible community discussion. See you there.
If it doesn't get too long, then we've got a video of Iran, a launch of their weapons, and I'll put that in right here.
این مشت‌های آهنی تا نابودی تک تک شما و اخراج شما از منطقه به حول و قوه الهی به سوی شما نواخته می شود.
We've got, this is a Christian village. That's why, you know, I couldn't go to a Christian church in the United States because they're all hypocrites, in my opinion. But I am going to look maybe into Orthodox Christianity at some point. But this is it. Israeli settlers are burning Taybeh, Taybeh, in occupied Palestine, a village that has stood for thousands of years, a place where Jesus once walked, home to the oldest living Christian community in the world, and not a peep from Christians in the United States or the mainstream media. And I got that video footage right here. All right. Whoa, damn it. Sometimes the phone gets touchy. By the way, this is a new channel I encourage you to check out called Power Shift. And this is Pepe Escobar. It says, we're back. Last week, Larry Johnson and I offered the 2 world exclusives back-to-back on Iran-U.S. negotiations. Less than a week later, our YouTube channel called Power Shift was canceled. No warning, no appeal. We know exactly who issued the order to Google. But I guess the channel's back up. So definitely check it out. We already did that video. This was interesting. So the Lebanese Prime Minister Nawaf Salam announced that Israel carried out 3,491 airstrikes on Lebanon during the nominal U.S. brokered ceasefire from April 17th to June 7th. His office also said that Israel carried out 407 controlled demolitions and 6 razing operations with what the Prime Minister's office has said entirely flattened several villages in southern Lebanon. When explicitly asked by Sky News whether the United States would back Israel if Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu reopens the war with Iran, Trump stated, "I don't think it'll happen," and then it goes on from there. We all know that's ancient history. Rather than continuing with the bookmarks, let's just we'll just read a couple of recent reports here, and then I got to get back. It's going to get dark on me. Because of the psychopath in the White House, the Straits of Hormuz will now be completely closed. Iran fully closes the Straits of Hormuz. Iran's, this is a statement, from this moment on, due to insecurity in the region, the Strait of Hormuz is declared closed to the passage of any type of vessel, including oil tankers and commercial vessels of any traffic, will be targeted. In continuation of the evils of the criminal American empire and in light of the heightening of the attacks of the country's aggressor army and satanic regime on some southern regions in the Hormuz province, from this moment on, due to the insecurity in the region, the Straits of Hormuz is declared closed, and it goes on from there. That's a statement out of Iran. Whoops. Breaking, Mir is reporting fresh explosions in the Bandar Abbas, this time tied to an attack on the eastern side of the city. Iran's main naval hub keeps absorbing hits. Bandar Abbas commands everything Tehran does in the Straits of Hormuz, and has now been struck in a round after round this week, with tonight's blast moving into a new quarter of the city. Whoops. Damn it. And then, of course, this will be it. This will be the last one. We got to get going. The U.S. will launch a strong strike against Iran today. The head of the Pentagon, the U.S. Secretary of War, added the strikes will be carried out on key Iranian facilities, and we all know the story there. Okay. I'm going to drink some more water. Peace out. Stay free. And stay frosty. All right, this will be somewhat redundant, but I believe we have confirmed multiple sources now. There was 2 tankers that were struck. The Strait of Hormuz is definitely closed. And I don't know if you ever watched Trump, but he was saying we were conducting a secret operation to get ships through the Strait of Hormuz for, I don't know, 6 weeks or so. And everybody was going, well, if it's a secret, why are you telling everybody about it? But so Mario Nafal, and he's pretty reliable source, he added to the helicopter story. So here's the story as Mario reported it. The helicopter was part of the escort operation for those ships that we were getting out of the Persian Gulf. If you didn't know, right now there's 2,000 ships trying to get through, now they're not going to get through at all. And so I guess the secret operation, they got a few of them through. And Trump's was bragging about it, but it's just a pittance of the oil that the world needs. But anyway, the helicopter operation. Now, what Mario is saying is that the drone did strike the helicopter. But the warhead on the drone actually ended up in the cockpit of the helicopter, but it didn't go off. Okay? So you can imagine this drone probably sticking out of the helicopter canopy, and the pilot immediately ditched the helicopter into the ocean there. And then, of course, supposedly we sent a drone in to get them out. So that's the whole story behind the helicopter. Now, like I said, Iran claimed that we hit their gas field and also a pharmaceutical factory. The U.S. is denying it. So that those two claims are unconfirmed at this point. Whew, I went too far today. I'll be happy to get back to the car. I'll check the news maybe one last time. Oh, I wanted to talk about the video studio again. I know you, oh no, don't talk about the video studios, that's the cybersecurity guy. Well, one thing I got with Grok on, I have an Epson Workforce 5090 printer. It's really, really old, an inkjet. I got plenty of ink for it. It's been a real good printer. It still works great. You know, I can't believe it. I've had it for many years. Well, I've been looking, I wanted to get that Epson, you know, the one with the tank printer. But when I talked to Grok about it, that you got to use that tank often or it's going to clog up, which is kind of true of my inkjet printer. If I don't print every so often, now it has a nozzle cleaning feature, but sometimes it takes a while. You might have to clean those nozzles like 3 times, and that wastes a lot of ink. And so I thought, you know, I better not go with this tank. So I asked Grok, I said, you know, given that I'm using Linux now, what's the best printer that I could buy, you know, for my video studio? And I'm not ditching the Epson because that's also my color printer, you know. So I thought, you know, why not get a Linux oriented? Because to get the Epson printer working in Linux, it was never designed for that. It was designed for Windows. And it's a freaking nightmare. I mean, the setup, you got to install all kinds of libraries and apps, and you know, do weird configuration, and you know, I mean, once you get it going, it's good. But I thought, man, this got to be a printer. So it turns out the Brother, and I couldn't give you the nomenclature for it. Maybe I'll put it in the video. The Brother makes up 2 printers: a color laser printer and a black and white laser printer. Now, the color laser printer was kind of out of my price range. They wanted $600, and since I got the inkjet for printing in color, what's the point of getting, you know, that color laser printer? So I just went with the black and white printer. I got it for about $209 plus tax, and then I bought 2 extra cartridges, so it ran me about $350. So that's the latest addition to the Office. Like I said, I'll put the printer in the text of the video so that if you do switch to Linux, this would be the printer that you want if you're only going to print in black and white. Of course, you can get the color printer too. I might put that in also. It's up to you. All right, that's it. Hopefully that's the last update on the way back. Unless I see something really, really newsworthy, we'll end the video here. All right, peace out. Stay free.
Empire burns, eyes from above.
Trump is nothing but a liar.
His words are worth less than burnt out tires.
His war on Iran is getting tired.
Promise quick win, now it's Meyer.
Oil slicks, body bags, empire expired.
Little excursion, he's a liar.
All eyes ghosted, NATO retired. Straight blocked, prices fired. Higher, higher. Talks in the shadows, handshakes breath. Diplomacy dead, buried in the black. cables, Geneva glow. Mediators say deals in flow. Uranium capped, verification go. Then February 28, bunkers blow.
Khamenei dust, leadership low.
Progress reported, then epic fury show.
Twice mid-talk, same deceitful flow.
June 25 nukes, ego blow.
Peace through strength, strength through lies.
From while they speak, watch alliances die. Chinese orbits, Russian eyes in the sky. Jill and scant canopus reveals the lie. Pentagon hides the craters, the smoke, the cries. But satellites broadcast the truth they deny. Bases in Qatar, Kuwait, struck and scarred. Damage exposed, no more
Joe Kent quits, counter chief, no more resigns today. No imminent threat, pressure from the core. Israel's lobby, unnecessary war. American blood for Israel's call. Soldiers spill in the endless brawl.
13 gone, 200 torn. No benefit here, just legs forlorn.
Next generation sent to die for thrones lie under forest
Diplomacy's corpse in Persian sand. One hand shakes, the other grips the brand. Emperor's throne on broken plans. Eyes from above, watch it all expand. No trust, no table, just ashes and demands. Enough! Diplomacy dead, buried in the blast.
twice betrayed, future collapsed.
Emperor Trump, world on fire. Liar, liar, empire's pyre. The world's getting tired.
Burn time smoke on the road to hell.
Lies cheap, tolling the bell. Trump the liar. Empire fell.